All right, we got a pretty rare one today, 1970 Superbird. About 1,935 or so of these were built. This is one of our second ones to work on. This is pretty much a full build. There were a few things the owner didn't want to touch on it, but initially when this car came in, we were going to do an engine compartment cleanup. We pulled the engine out, we were going through it, we started noticing a few things. We were talking to the owner about it. We noticed in the body, and he was like, you know, why don't we paint it? So we started stripping it down, and man, we glad we did. In the door jambs, when we stripped that down to bare metal, there was literally nothing there. It was all fiberglass. There was no metal in it. The roof skin itself, right here on the A-pillar, was completely fiberglassed on. There was no metal to metal here whatsoever. Back here, the roof was riveted on. There was a piece of sheet metal running across with rivets that were holding the roof on the car. So a fender bender probably would have threw the roof right off of this thing. Then your typical stuff, the trunk floor was bad. We got down into the package tray area, that was all gone, it was bad. We had to remake most of that. A couple things that are pretty cool with this one is we ended up having this nose built. So there's a guy we know up north who's a really awesome metal fabricator who built this nose from scratch. That's really cool. You know, it's hard to find anything like that. This is something that we could have built here, but honestly, for what he charges to build it to what we could build it for, it made sense to get it from him. Turned out really good. All the headlights, everything works. They're notorious for not working on these cars. They're really hard to get like they should be. We've got all those going. There's also a rear plug right here, because if you know anything about the Superbirds, they're based off of a Roadrunner. So if you look at a Roadrunner rear glass compared to, let's say, a Superbird, it's two totally different glasses. So from the factory, they put in a plug, a metal plug that went around so you could put in a different back glass, which I think maybe was a Coronet. I hope I'm right about that. I don't remember. We ended up having to make this piece. We had one made, or somebody else made one, and it was so just wouldn't fit. We ended up making another one that fit the plug, that fit the opening, and we've got all that taken care of. The wing, really cool. Staple of the Superbird. We got the Roadrunner. Everything on this car works, functions, drives great. 440, automatic. We basically went through everything on the car. We sent the dash out, had the dash restored. It looks really good. We recovered the seats, new headliner. We basically went through it. A lot of the suspension is still original. We just kind of color matched it back to what the Superbird would have been. But overall, really clean car. Super great people to work for that own this car. They are really awesome. Hopefully we can do another one for them in the future. But I say at this point, why don't we go for a ride? Something to see that camera go flying off of there, wouldn't it? And all these people are like, what is that? Did you see the bumper on that car? Well, it's not every day you get to drive a Superbird around. Taking the back road so we don't get stopped every 2 seconds. Man, this thing rides good. So what is interesting about these cars, they built them for NASCAR. They had to have so many production numbers to be able to actually enter and compete. So this is one of the cars. A couple of interesting things about this is you'll notice in all the Superbirds, they've got hood scoops on the fenders. Well, interesting story behind that. When they were testing the cars, the guy that was driving it, running 200 miles an hour in this thing, he's banking it. They see paint bubbling up on the fenders. What it was doing, they built this car for the aerodynamics. That's why it's got such a crazy nose. It's got the big spoiler on the back. That's what it was for. It was to pin this thing down so it could go fast. So it had it pinned down, and the tire was in the fender and it was bubbling up the paint. And luckily they saw it, because it could have blown out the fender, and then that would have been, you know, pretty bad at 200 miles an hour. So that's why they have the scoops. In the NASCARs, the fenders were cut out right there to let the tire come up into the fender. Anyway, that's what I've read quite a few times, and a couple of Superbird guys I know have told me that story. The other thing we were talking about, the window plug in the back, that's actually the reason you'll notice that all Superbirds have vinyl tops. None of them are painted tops, because basically they busted the Roadrunner back glass out down the assembly line. They put the plug in, they nasty welded it up, they stuck a new glass in it, they wrapped it in a vinyl top, and they never actually fixed or, you know, filler worked or primed or anything where they welded that in. So it's definitely got some interesting quirks to it that make it a really cool car. And what's funny too is back in the day they couldn't sell these things. You couldn't give them away. Nobody wanted one, and now they're one of the most valuable cars. So I think that's pretty funny. But as far as driving this thing, so much fun. It drives so good. Look, no hands, Mom. Straight down the road. All right, well, that's our 1970 Superbird. Hope you guys enjoy getting to take a peek at it. Definitely want to thank the owners for letting us build this for them. I know they're ready to get it home. We can't wait to see it in their garage, but hopefully she'll get to come back and visit with us. Man, that's a bad car.